A story on workplace romance may seem more appropriate for the week of February 14th, but employers might want to be more concerned after the Valentines are given out and someone wants theirs back.
There's nothing illegal about dating someone at work. The issues are when the relationship breaks down and it either impacts on one employee's or another employee's work product or on the people around them, or where it leads to a breakdown where one side or the other doesn't quite know it's over or takes steps to prejudice the other person who broke up with him or her.
Even more problems arise when the door closes on a relationship between senior and lower level staff.
So if the employer knows that, the employer may want to take steps to remove the reporting relationship, because that's usually where harassment or bullying claims arise out of, is the fact that one person reports to the other. So, probably the first step for the employer is to make sure that he and she no longer report to each other in the work environment.
But does an employee have an obligation to disclose an in-office relationship?
Let's be honest, lots of people date at work. It happens all the time, and people who work closely with each other often find things that are alike and end up in relationships, and it's very difficult to prohibit that. And sometimes some people would say, listen, it's not my employer's business what I do outside of work, as long as it doesn't affect my work product. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention to you, is that if it starts to affect work product or the perception of other employees, people think there's bias or favoritism, then it may become incumbent on an employer to take steps to address that, and an employer may want to make a warning known that you cannot let this affect your work product, because if it does, we'll have to take further steps. But subject to that, I think two people at the same level dating at work, it really doesn't raise legal concerns unless that relationship dissolves and one person takes steps that could be construed or is in fact harassment or sexual harassment.
Instead, employers might want to make sure they have the right things in their policy.
All employers should have harassment policies and sexual harassment policies in place. And the human rights legislation across the country also addresses the situation, stating that it's illegal to engage in a reprisal, which is essentially taking adverse action against someone as a result of a complaint of harassment. So, the policies can be put into place and can be quite effective if done properly.
Artists and cooks are the most likely to find love in the workplace, according to a 2013 study by American-based career website PayScale. The study compiles data from 42,000 people about their love life. Artists and cooks were followed by welders, stock clerks, and occupational health and safety professionals. 2013 survey results from Canadian career website careerbuilder.ca shows workplace romance may not be all that bad. 35% of 424 respondents said they had dated within the workplace, and of that 35%, 20% said it led to a trip down the aisle. But before employers start worrying about seeing these all over the workplace, Daniel Lublin says educating employees might just put the boss's mind at ease.
I think a lot of employers could benefit greatly from training with respect to human rights legislation and how to handle human rights and reprisal-based complaints. What I found in my own practice is that oftentimes reprisal, which is basically adverse treatment as a result of a breakdown when we're talking about relationships at work, isn't well understood by many employers and managers. They look at discrimination as a black and white issue, but they don't necessarily understand that when there's a breakup in work and one employee is prejudiced in terms of the work that he or she receives as a result of it, it could be a human rights claim. So I think training on that end could be very helpful.